It was morning, and one sat quietly in the classroom trying to focus on the board as the professor lectured. Her eyes grew heavy, and she let out a small yawn. Beside her, her best friend Leah gently nudged her and whispered, "Why are you warning?" Wine whispered back, "Such a boring class. I'm just waiting for it to be over." Leah raised an eyebrow, smirking. "So you can go on a date with your husband, right?" Wine's cheeks instantly flushed pink. She looked down at her book, mumbling, "It's not like that. The class is just boring." Leah's smirk deepened. "Sure, that means I'm right." Wine tried to focus on the board again, refusing to answer. Leah quietly chuckled under her breath. Soon the class finally ended. In the college hallway, Wine walked outside while pulling out her phone. Her heartbeat quickened as she dialed Jungkook's number. After two rings, the call connected. On the other side, a cold yet familiar voice said, "Did your class finished?" Wine smiled immediately. "Yes. Do you remember our date?" "Hmm." Jungkook replied shortly. "I'll pick you up, don't worry." But Wine quickly shook her head, even though he couldn't see her. "No, no, my last class was cancelled, so I'll just come to your office." There was a brief pause. Then Jungkook answered, "Okay," and the call ended. One stared at her phone screen, smiling even wider. They had been married for 2 months now, an arranged marriage. Jungkook was cold, quiet, and reserved, the type who struggled to express his feelings. But his actions, they spoke louder than words. At first, he maintained a distance, but slowly things changed. He made sure she felt comfortable. He took her on dates whenever she asked. He fulfilled every responsibility without complaint. He took care of her, and Wine understood him. He wasn't cold, out of disgust. He simply didn't know how to express. Wine, on the other hand, was innocent and childish. Ever since the marriage, she had fallen harder and harder for him. His gentleman nature, his handsomeness, his quiet protectiveness, she loved clinging to him, loved being near him. And today, they finally had a date. One Wine herself planned. Still smiling, she stepped out of the college gates. Jungkook was in the meeting room when his phone suddenly rang. Everyone seated around the long table glanced up, surprised. Their cold, fierce CEO was smiling, a small, barely visible smile tugged at his lips. No one dared to breathe. They had never seen him smile before. The call was from Wyan. Without hesitation, Jungkook paused the meeting, raised a hand to silence everyone, and answered immediately because to him this call was more important than any deal. When the call ended, Jungkook's expression returned to its usual emotionless calm. His eyes darkened as he looked back at the screen. "Continue," he said in a cold, controlled voice. A shiver ran down everyone's spine. The room instantly fell quiet, and the presentation resumed. Once the meeting was finally over, Jungkook leaned back in his chair, his voice steady and sharp. There is only a 50% profit in this deal. I want at least 70, preferably 80. Read the presentation from the beginning and make sure the profit doesn't fall below 70. The presenter sniffed and lowered his head. But sir, Jungkook stood up, cutting him off instantly. The meeting ends here. I want the updated confirmation file on my desk in 45 minutes. His tone left no room for argument. As he walked out, silence filled the room. Only after the door closed did everyone finally exhale. They had been holding their breath the entire time. Jungkook sat quietly in his office, reviewing documents when the door suddenly opened. He looked up and saw Namjoon enter. You shouldn't have spoken to him like that. He prepared the presentation very well. Jungkook's expression didn't change, but the projected profit is only 50%. He replied calmly. Namjoon sighed, defeated. He knew Jungkook too well. They had been best friends since college. Fine, he said. I'll have my secretary bring a revised confirmation file in an hour and a half. Jungkook nodded. But I won't be here. I'm going out. Namjoon raised a brow. Where? Jungkook lowered his gaze back to the file. Wine is coming. We are going out together. Namjoon smirked, took a seat opposite him. Oh, sounds like a date. Hmm, Jungkook answered, simply not looking up. Namjoon leaned back with a grin. Actually, I came for office work, but I didn't get a chance to ask about your married life. How's it going? Jungkook finally looked up, his voice softer. It's fine. Everything going smoothly. That's good, Namjoon said. I was worried, you know. It was a forced marriage for you. I wondered how you had managed. He chuckled. But I told you before, Wine would be the girl you fall hard for. And now look. Jungkook lowered his head slightly, a small smile tugged at his lip, memories flickering behind his eyes. The night he had stormed into Namjoon's house, furious that his parents wanted him to marry a stranger. I never thought I had fallen for her this much. Jungkook admitted quietly. Every day she makes me fall again. She's childish and clingy, always wanting my attention like a little kid. It makes my heart flutter. Namjoon smirked. Clingy, huh? Before Jungkook could answer, the office door opened with just a crack. Wine had arrived. She froze when she heard Namjoon continue. You know, back in the college, there are so many girls who confess to you. And what did you always say? They are so clingy and attention seeker girls. They irritate you so much. Jungkook nodded. Yeah, I remember. And now you are telling me Wine is clingy and childish. Jungkook let out a soft sigh. Yes, that's true. The words echoed. Outside the door, Wine's heart dropped. Her fingers trembled. She slowly closed the door, too afraid to step inside. Tears forming instantly. I'm clingy and he is irritated by me, she whispered shakily. Her chest tightened, and without another sound she turned and quickly left. Back inside, Jungkook continued. But she's my wife, my better half. His tone was firm. She has every right over me. She can cling to me. She can want my attention. And I don't mind giving her everything. She's not irritating at all. Namjoon's smile widened. Jungkook continued, voice low and honest. Those girls from college were fake. That's why they annoyed me. But when she is different, I love her. I fall for her more every day. Even I want her attention. Namjoon chuckled softly. I understand. Alright, I'll get going. I have some important works. Jungkook nodded and returned to his files. After Namjoon left, Jungkook checked his watch and frowned slightly. Where is she? On the other side, Wine was on the road, tears streaming down her face. Her mind was whirlwind of confusion and self-doubt. She had expected a date, sometimes spent with Jungkook, but now everything felt wrong. She felt a sudden pang of shame. Am I really irritating him? She wondered. She knew Jungkook wasn't the one to express his feelings easily. That must be why he had never told her she annoyed him with her clingy nature. Wiping her tears harshly, she started crossing the road. The hospital was quiet, almost eerily so. When the nurse finally finished, Wan sat up carefully. She bowed slightly and said, Thank you. The nurse raised an brow. Where are your parents or guardians? You can't manage like this on your own. One glanced at her leg, then back at the nurse. Jungkook's word echoed faintly in her mind. Slowly a thought took shape and she looked up with a fake, innocent, nervous eyes. Actually, I don't have anyone here, she admitted, her voice trembling. My parents are abroad, so I live alone. The nurse frown softened and she stepped closer. Honey, it's okay. I'll help you. Wyatt nodded gratefully, relief washing over her. When the nurse left, she finally let out a sigh. Looking down at her leg, frustration and helplessness surged through her. She leaned her head onto the bed, closing her eyes for a moment. It's true, she whispered to herself. How am I supposed to manage with this? No one's here to help me, and I can't bother Jungkook anymore. That that wouldn't be good. She closed her eyes for a brief moment for rest, trying to calm her racing thoughts. After a few moments, the door burst open. One flinched and snapped her eyes open, only to see Jungkook standing there, tie loosened, eyes dark, a frown etched across his face. Her heart skipped a beat, eyes widened. With calculated steps, he approached her, his dark eyes fixed on her. She whispered to herself that, how can he be here? But Jungkook listened, calm yet commanding. He said, why can't I be here? And why didn't you call me? Wan looked down, unsure of what to say. Jungkook's gaze fell to her. Why are you so careless? Look at what you have done, he said coldly. Wan's voice rose slightly, a mix of frustration and defense. So what? I didn't bother you. Then why? Jungkook's brow frowned at her tone. She had never spoken to him like this before. After that moment, the same nurse entered the room, carrying some supplies. Hwan's eyes widened immediately, panic rising. The nurse's gaze fell on Jungkook. Who are you? May I know? Hwan's face flushed. She looked down immediately, trying to hide herself. I'm her husband, Jungkook said calmly, his voice cold. Hwan closed her eyes. She was, her realizing the truth was now revealed. The nurse's eyes widened in shock. She looked at Hwan. But you told me you don't have anyone here, she said, bewildered. Jungkook's expression darkened. His jaw tightened as he looked at Hwan. She finally looked up and smiled innocently. Actually, I... Jungkook interrupted softly but firmly, his voice steady. Actually, I was in a meeting, maybe that's why. She was angry with me. It's okay. Hwan said nothing, and the nurse gave a gentle smile before nodding. Then leave the room. Jungkook finally sat beside Hwan's bed, his gaze sharp and unwavering. Care to explain? He asked, his voice low and commanding. Why did you tell her you don't have anyone here? A shiver ran down her spine. She averted his eyes. His jaw clenched slightly. Could you tell me what happened? He continued, calm but still firm. Your behavior seems different. Did something happen? Hwan shook her head softly. It's nothing. I'm not feeling well. I'm going to sleep, she mumbled. She lay down on the bed, closing her eyes. Jungkook's dark gaze lingered on her for a long moment, unreadable, before he remained silent. It was almost night. In the evening, they arrived home. Jungkook was not in the bedroom, and Hwan sat on the bed, staring at her legs. She needed to go to the washroom, but how? She bit her lips, unsure how she could get up from the bed. Summoning her strength, she tried to stand. Just as she shifted, the door opened. Jungkook entered, his brow frowned. He immediately approached her. What are you doing? He asked, his voice cold. I want to go to the washroom. Wine replied, her tone tinged with stubbornness. Jungkook's dark eyes softened slightly, though his tone remained firm. Then you should have called me. Before she could protest, he reached for her, lifting her effortlessly into his arms. It's not needed. I can go by myself, Wine said sharply, struggling against him. No, you can't. Jungkook countered, his voice steady and unwielding. I said I can. I don't need your help. I can do everything on my own. Wine's voice cracked slightly from frustration. Jungkook put her down on the bed and straightened, stepping back a little. Okay, he said finally, raising an eyebrow. Wine looked up at him, determined. She tried to stand again. She tried 3, 4 times. Finally she gave up. Her gaze fell on Jungkook, who stood there calmly, arms crossed, his dark eyes studying her. Embarrassment flushed her cheeks. With a sigh she sat back properly on the bed. I I don't feel like going to the washroom now, she admitted quietly. Jungkook exhaled softly, a hint of confusion in his eyes. From yesterday she had been fine, so why this sudden resistance? Muttering under his breath, he said, such a stubborn girl. Before she could protest again, he lifted her once more into his arms. Wine gasped, flustered. I said it's not needed, she protested, but Jungkook didn't answer. Silently he carried her towards the washroom, his firm presence leaving no room for argument.